There's something fascinating about the stubborn practicality of old wartime knowledge. When modern conveniences disappear, even for a moment, you quickly realize how much we rely on systems we never think twice about. Electric heaters, gas supplies, insulation designed for comfort. That's exactly why these old-school heating methods matter. They come from a time when energy was scarce, when nothing could be wasted, and when survival depended on simple, reliable tricks. Before we get into the heart of it, let me pull you in with this. If the power went out tonight, how long could you keep your home warm using nothing but everyday materials? Most people today wouldn't last 2 hours, yet the strategies developed around World War II could keep you warm through the whole night. And what's even more surprising is that some of these methods weren't officially adopted, even though they were widely known by civilians and resistance groups. That's where the real value lies for us today. Practical, field-tested heating knowledge that works without electricity, fuel, or expensive gear. Let's go straight into the 8 techniques that deserve a place in every survivalist's skill set, every historian's memory bank, and every prepared household. The trick of thermal mass worked better in civilian homes than military barracks. During World War II, civilians in Europe relied heavily on thermal mass, storing heat in dense materials during the day and releasing it slowly through the night. Stones, bricks, clay pots, and even sand-filled metal containers were used to absorb heat from fireplaces or stoves. Troops rarely used this trick because it required stationary setups, but civilians depended on it. Today, if you heat a stack of bricks or a pot filled with sand next to a fire source for a few hours, you'll have a slow, steady heater that radiates warmth long after the flames die out. In a blackout, placing bricks near a propane stove or even in direct sunlight during the day can preserve hours of nighttime heat. This one method alone transforms small spaces and buys time when fuel is low. The method of compartment heating was smarter than whole-room heating. Instead of trying to warm an entire space, a luxury no one could afford, families often converted small zones into heat-efficient pockets. Soldiers in the field frequently had to heat entire tents or dugouts, which wasted precious fuel. Civilians did the opposite. They shrank their living zones to areas the size of a closet, using blankets, tarps, or thick coats as makeshift insulation barriers. You can still do this today. If power fails, choose a corner, hang heavy curtains or blankets around it, and focus all your heat in that pocket. One candle or one heated brick becomes far more effective in a confined microspace than struggling to warm a full room. The civilian bed stove trick produced overnight warmth with almost no fuel. In Scandinavia, Eastern Europe and Japan, people used metal or clay containers filled with embers placed under or beside raised beds. Militaries avoided these setups due to safety regulations and mobility demands. Civilians got hours of gentle radiant heat with minimal smoke. Today, a modern adaptation is safer. Heat clean stones in a fire, wrap them in thick cloth and place them under your bedding. The heat lasts for hours and requires no electricity. Even in extreme cold, a well-heated stone bundle can maintain body temperature through the night. The layered ground method preserved warmth better than thick blankets alone. Many people think warmth comes from piling blankets on top, but Babadu civilians knew that the ground steals heat faster than the air. Soldiers often slept directly on cold soil or thin mats, losing their body heat instantly. Civilians, however, layered straw, clothes, wool, and even folded newspapers under their bedding. This insulation underneath gave more warmth than doubling blankets above. Apply it today by prioritizing what's under you before worrying about what's covering you. A few folded towels or even spare clothing under your sleeping area traps a surprising amount of body heat. The window seal trick saved entire homes from freezing over. During blackouts, civilians sealed windows using whatever they had: rags, newspapers, clay, wool, or even mud. Soldiers typically didn't have rooted shelters long enough to do this, so they simply endured the drafts. A single unsealed window can drop a room's temperature by several degrees. In a powerless scenario today, you can apply strips of cloth soaked in water and pressed into gaps, or tape newspapers along the frame. The difference is dramatic, and the materials are accessible in every home. The kettle heat technique warmed rooms using steam instead of flames. Many resistance homes use kettles sitting on tiny alcohol stoves or candle stands to create warm, moist air. Soldiers didn't use it because tents couldn't handle humidity well, but homes could. Heating water produces far more radiant warmth than the small flame alone. If you boil water on any heat source, camp stove, candle heater or charcoal, you raise the surrounding temperature while adding humidity that makes the air feel warmer on the skin. Even in a blackout, this is an efficient way to stretch minimal fuel. The shared heat sleeping strategy was more effective than any single blanket. Families often slept together under one large cover. Militaries avoided this except in extreme cases, but in households it was the difference between waking up cold and waking up comfortable. Human body heat multiplies when shared in a confined space, especially when paired with ground insulation. If you're in a survival situation today, grouping sleeping arrangements, especially for the elderly or young, is one of the most reliable low-energy heat methods available. The improvised masonry stove method outperformed metal stoves in long-term heat retention. Some rural homes built temporary brick enclosures around small metal stoves. The metal heated the bricks, and the bricks released heat hours after the fire died. Soldiers using portable metal stoves couldn't replicate this. If you have a small stove at home today, even a charcoal one, stacking bricks or stones around it with proper ventilation clearance dramatically increases heat retention. This trick can carry warmth through a full night on very little fuel. These 8 World War II heating techniques survived the harshest winters without electricity, without steady fuel, and without modern conveniences, and they still work just as well today. If you want more historical deep dives like this, make sure you subscribe, share the video, and help the channel grow so we can keep uncovering forgotten knowledge that still matters.